So you'll lay down on your back now for this core breath exercise with a tuck. Start in neutral, neutral pelvis, parallel legs, bent knees, feet flat, arms by your sides. And inhale to lengthen the spine, open the rib cage, and then exhale, pull the back layer of the abdomen back towards the back body. Find a contraction there and then gently tuck the pelvis to reach the low back towards the floor, pressing into the feet. Complete the exhalation here. And then release all of that contraction, come back to neutral as you inhale and lengthen your spine again. And exhale, pull the deepest, lowest back of the belly back towards the spine and contract there. So it's the layer behind the organs, it's the psoas that's working. And then tuck the pelvis and increase all of that work, contracting there. Still exhaling, I'll call this a scoop. And then release as you inhale, lengthening. And exhale, a deep scoop and a tuck, drawing the deepest, lowest part of the abdomen back towards the spine. And then release into neutral as you inhale, lengthening here. And exhale, a deep contraction, pulling the belly back and in. And then a tuck. Press the feet. Continue the exhalation all the way to the bottom. And then release this. Bring the pelvis back to neutral as you inhale and lengthen the spine. And exhale, pull the back of the belly back and in. Connecting the back surface of the belly towards the anterior surface of the spine, and then find a deep contraction of the psoas here, pressing the feet into the floor. Finish the exhale. And then inhale and lengthen the spine again, coming back to neutral. And exhale again, same thing, deep contraction, scooping the low belly. Inhale, lengthening the spine, neutralize. And exhale, a deep contraction into a tuck. The lower belly pulls back towards the back body and in, lower back towards the sticky mat. And then release into neutral as you inhale again. And this time exhale, stay in neutral. Now we'll practice Ardha Navasana. So lay on your back again, starting with a neutral spine here. Feet flat, knees bent. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Be in neutral here. And then exhale and find a deep contraction of the low belly. So the low, deep belly pulls back towards the anterior spine, tucking the pelvis, and then stretch your legs out at 45 degrees and lift your shoulder blades and arms up. Inhale here and find length in the limbs. Exhale and scoop the belly again, thinking of the belly moving towards the back body, contracting there. Inhale, stretch the arms and stretch the legs. Roll the thighs in and make your legs longer. Exhale, find a deep contraction. Inhale, be here. Exhale, a deep contraction again. 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 And then inhale, lay back down, bend your knees, feet flat, and recover here. Smooth breath, inhaling and exhaling. And now for Supta Urdhva Hastasana. Make sure that the flesh of your buttocks is pulled away from the low back, and then stretch your legs out one at a time and reach your arms up overhead but along the floor. And stretch your whole body out in this manner, Open the feet, open the toes, roll your thighs in and ground your thighs down towards the mat. And pull your rib cage long away from the legs. Lengthen and extend your arms. So pull your legs towards the feet and pull your arms towards the hands. And let your abdomen, let your whole midsection, let your lumbar receive that stretch. Breathing here as you stretch the legs and stretch the sides of your belly, stretch the arms. Relax and release any tension that's unnecessary as you lengthen, and then bend your knees and come back to neutral. Now we'll practice belly rolling pose, which is a wonderful, very active twist and a core exercise. Reach your arms out to the sides, stretch the elbows, pull your shoulder blades down your back, and press the backs of your hands into the floor, palms face up, and lift your legs up so they're at 90 degrees. Really active legs. Inhale here, and exhale, lower your legs down halfway towards your right hand, and think of your belly pulling to the left. So the belly recedes and pulls to the left as the legs move to the right. The legs are very even and active. And then inhale back up to center with the legs. And exhale your legs over to the left towards the left hand. So make sure that your feet are also coming headwards towards the left and up towards your head. Extending through the legs, pull the belly to the right. Inhale back to center. Exhale the legs to the right and the belly recedes and pulls left. Reach the left arm to the left. And inhale all the way back to center with the legs. And exhale, lower your legs over to the left side towards the left hand. Pull the belly to the right. So the belly recedes and pulls to the right. Pull your right arm to the right. Breathing here, active legs, open feet. Press the backs of the hands into the floor. Inhale your legs up to the center. And then bend your knees and rest your feet down. Now we'll do belly rolling pose with a block. Laying on the back to start, place the block between your knees, knees over hips, shins parallel to the floor. Stretch your arms out to the sides, wake up your feet. Spread the arms, inhale, lengthen the spine, and then exhale, lower the knees down towards the right hand, squeezing the block. Pull the belly to the left, slide the shoulder blades down the back, press the backs of the hands into the floor. Squeeze the block between the knees and lower the knees down a little more to the right as you roll the belly left. Stretch the left arm to the left. And then inhale, come back to center. Squeezing the block, and exhale, take the knees over to the left arm. Reach the right arm to the right. Wide through the arms, shoulder blades down the back. Pull the belly to the right. Roll the belly to the right as the legs go left. Long spine here. And then inhale back to the center. And exhale the knees over to the right side, squeezing the block. Belly recedes back and slides to the left. And then inhale to the center. Exhale, take the knees over towards the left elbow as the belly rolls to the right. And inhale back to center. Exhale, recede and scoop the belly as it rolls left as the knees go right. Inhale, center, squeezing the block. Exhale, let the belly recede and roll to the right as the legs go to the left elbow. Nice and even and wide through the arms, and continue like this again to each side. Shoulder blades sliding down the back, long in the anterior spine, connecting the outer knees in towards the inner knees, towards the block. Stretch the elbows, open the hands, hug your shoulder blades into the rib cage. And then lower the feet back down to the floor and relax here. Smooth inhalation and exhaling. Remove the block from between your knees and rest in neutral. Now we'll practice Virasana. So spread your blanket out on your sticky mat, and this will be the padding for your shins. And then place your block on the lowest height onto the blanket. Come onto hands and knees with the block between your feet. And then take the top of your head onto the sticky mat, lift the buttocks, and put your hands onto the tops of your calves so that you can pull the calves both down towards the feet and also out to the sides. So as you roll those calves out to the sides, you make space to let the femur bones settle between the shins. And then sit your butt down on the block and pull the flesh of the buttocks back so you can sit really on the center of the sitting bones. And then reach underneath the skin of the knees and pull the skin of the shins forwards. And then rest your hands on your thighs and sit tall here. And you can enjoy how in this pose the femurs are internally rotated and you're also resting. And then interlace your fingers and press your palms forward and then lift the arms up. Keep the back, deep abdomen settling back and lengthening as you take the arms back. So the front waist moves to the back waist. The waist elongates. Lengthen through the armpits and squeeze your outer arms in. Let the outer hips settle and find a deep ascension through the midline of the trunk. Lengthen the anterior spine from bottom to top. And then lower your arms down and change the interlace, pressing the palms forward and all the way up over the head. Extend the elbows, extend the waist. Release and ground the tops of the femurs here. The pubic bone is descending, the groins are deep. The back of the abdomen settles back and lengthens. Gather your outer arms and stay extended in the sides of your body as you slide the shoulder blades down slightly. Open the palms, outer hips releasing down. And then lower your arms down and rest your hands on your thighs. Now we'll practice what I call a pixie side bend, starting on shins, and then let your hips slide over to the left. And take a side bend over to the right. So the right hand will be down on the sticky mat, left arm comes up and overhead. And play with ways to deepen the side bend, to lengthen and expand the left side ribs, the left waist. Don't be afraid of the contraction on the right side here. Let this be a true side bend. Right side contracting and left side lengthening. Let the hips be heavy and grounded here. Reach the right arm further up and over. Deepen the side bend, open the left ribs. And then come out of the pose and sit back on the heels, coming to center. And then slide your hips over to the right and take a side bend over to the left. Let that left hand support you as the right arm comes up and overhead, and create a sense of lengthening, a sense of expansion in the right side ribs and the right waist. Heavy grounded hips here. Open the right ribs, look up at the top hand. Stay present and engaged here as you deepen the side bend. And then inhale yourself up to center and slide your hips over to sit centered in Vajrasana. Now we'll practice pigeon pose. So start on hands and knees with a blanket underneath your knees and shins for padding. And bring your right knee forward and align yourself so that your right knee is a little bit wider than your outer hip. The front leg is folded into pigeon position, and then tuck the back toes under, lift the thigh, and internally rotate that thigh so that the outer left thigh is dropping down, so that the hips become more square. And pull the right femur back towards the hip socket. And keep that activity going as you support your upper body with the fingertips. Lift up through the belly, lift up through the side ribs, shoulders back. And be here in this upright pigeon. Tailbone is anchoring, low belly is buoyant. Long in the side ribs, squaring the hips here. And then lengthen yourself out as you come down onto forearms and breathe into your kidney area a little bit here. Breathing into the backs of the lungs, spreading the kidneys. Letting the abdomen settle back towards the spine here. And breathe into the sensations of the outer right hip. See if you can gather the right femur into the hip socket more deeply. Gather the flesh of the right thigh from the outer right knee to the outer hip. You can gently gather your outer hips both towards each other, towards the midline. And then if it's available to you, you can walk your hands even further forward and let your forehead come down onto the sticky mat. Elongating your trunk here. Active arms. And breathe into the sensations in the right hip. Observing here. Deepen your breath. And then start to walk your hands back to come up to a seated pigeon. And lift the sternum from bottom to top. Spread the collarbones wide, shoulders back, and look up. And then come back onto hands and knees. And take your left knee forward for pigeon, taking the left knee quite wide so that it's wider than the left hip. Walk your hands back and sit tall in this seated pigeon. And then tuck your back toes under. Lift the back thigh for a moment and internally rotate that back thigh so that the outer right thigh can drop down as the hips become more square. And then spread wide the collarbones and lift the low belly and start to look up. And lengthen through the anterior spine, lengthen the front side of your trunk, shoulders back. Squaring the hips here as you gather the left femur deeper into the hip socket, gathering the flesh of the left thigh from the outer knee to the outer hip, gathering the outer hips towards the midline. Shoulders back, elbows back, buoyant belly. And give another lift under the collarbones to lengthen the throat and look up. And then come down onto your forearms and breathe into the kidneys here. Let the right hip settle down. Breathe into the sensations in the outer left hip. Let the abdomen settle towards the spine. Elongate the spine from the tail all the way through the top of the head. Resting on the forearms here. And then if you'd like to, you can reach your arms further forward with very extended arms and armpits and let your forehead rest down on the sticky mat. Breathing deeply here, breathing into the sensations of the left hip. Smooth inhalations, smooth exhalations. And start to walk your hands back now to come up into a seated pigeon again. Shoulders and elbows back, side ribs long, shoulder blades sliding down the back as you lift the low belly. And then step yourself back into hands and knees to come out of the pose. Now we'll practice Gomukhasana legs. So stack up 2 folded blankets, as you see here. And then come onto your hands and knees with the blankets behind you. And cross your right knee in front of the left knee, as you see. And then you'll crawl yourself back so that the folded blankets are between the feet. And let yourself come to sit back so that your buttocks, your sitting bones, are supported by the blankets. And your legs are in this very crossed position. And take a moment to adjust the flesh of your calf muscles and adjust the flesh of the buttocks so that you can sit right on the center of the sitting bones. And so your legs are very deeply folded into each other. So you can have the heels quite close to the outer hips, or you can move the heels a little further from the outer hips. Hands on the blanket behind you. Lengthen and lift the spine, shoulders back, elbows back. Let your thigh bones settle. And then change the position of the hands so the hands will rest on the top knee. Have straight elbows and lift from underneath the heart. The abdomen is receding back. And let the thigh bones and the knees be heavy and relaxed. And then start to come forward, taking your hands onto the floor and walk those hands even more forward as you find a gentle forward bend here. So let there be a gentle curve in the spine, something like a child's pose back. Think of pulling the right femur back towards the hip socket, and think of firming the outer hips towards each other. Let the upper buttocks release down towards the blankets behind you. And breathe into the sensation here. Connect your femurs back into the hip sockets. Smooth breathing. Be the witness here. Observe yourself in this posture. Observe yourself responding to the sensations. Observe yourself breathing. And then start to walk your hands back to let yourself back up, hands resting on the top knee. Come all the way upright in your spine, head over tail. And then come forward onto hands and knees again, and we'll switch sides. So now take the left knee in front of the right knee, crossing the shins. And back your hips up so that your hips will come down onto the blankets. And take a moment here to adjust the flesh of your buttocks, to adjust the flesh of the calves. And sit tall on the center of your sitting bones. Hands on the blankets behind you. Lengthen the sides of your waist all the way up into the armpits, so those side ribs are lifting and the heads of the humerus bones go back. So there comes a natural lift from under the heart, from under the collarbones. Pubic bone is descending, groins deep and descending. And let your hands rest on the top knee here as you invite the femurs to get grounded, the knees to be heavy and relaxed. Spine is tall and natural. And then pull the left femur back towards the hip socket and gather your outer hips in towards the midline as you walk your hands forward to find the forward bend here. Gentle, natural curve of the spine as the belly recedes, as the upper buttocks releases down, as you gently lengthen the trunk forward. Head is relaxed. You can stay active with the femur bones, gathering the femur bones back towards the hip sockets and gathering the outer hips in. Breathe into the sensations here, observing each moment, not at all placing judgment on the situation. Stay present here and breathe into the sensations that arise. And now start to walk your hands back so that you can sit up tall. Hands stack on the top knee again. Steady, smooth breath here. Lifting and opening through the back of the throat. Outer hips are grounded. And then come forward onto hands and knees to come out of the pose. Now we'll practice Janu Shirshasana, so have a blanket folded that you can sit on. And sit your buttocks down onto the blanket and stretch your legs out in front of you. And pull the flesh of the buttocks back so that you can sit up tall on the center of your sitting bones. Fingertips down, shoulders back. And then bend the left knee out to the side so the left sole of your foot comes very close to the right inner thigh. And use your fingertips on the floor to help you point the midline of your torso directly over the midline of your right leg. And then continue that action to twist fully to the right. So the left hand is on the right knee, right hand is on the blanket, twisting to the right for a moment, and then start to come forward and grab onto the outer right foot with your left hand. The right fingertips are on the floor to support you, and start to lengthen your rib cage forward, lengthening the front ribs as much as the back ribs towards the right foot. Relax and release the left buttock back and down. Think of the whole belly sliding over to the right so that the midline of your belly comes directly over the midline of the right thigh, and then lengthen your belly forward even more. Pull the right thigh bone back towards the hip socket. Ground the right thigh bone down. So the deep low belly slides to the right, and then lengthen both sides of your rib cage straight forward, directly towards the right foot. Using your hands to help you. And then inhale and come all the way up to center. Take the left knee up to the ceiling and then stretch your left leg long, and then pull the right knee out to the side, connecting the right sole of the foot to the left inner thigh. Both sets of fingertips on the floor now to help you start to Turn your body so the midline of the trunk is in line with the midline of the left leg. And then continue this as a twist, twisting the belly around to the left and the rib cage, right hand to outer left knee, left hand on the blanket, turning. And then see if you can use that space you made to come forward, grabbing onto the outer left foot with your right hand, and let your belly recede and slide over to the left. So the midline of the belly is in line with the midline of the left thigh, and start to come forward even more. So the belly recedes and slides to the left and lengthens forward. Sides of the waist lengthen forward as well. And let the right butt cheek release back and down. And continue to find more space in your trunk as you fold forward. Pulling the left femur back towards the hip socket. Grounding the left thigh bone down. And then bend the right knee up to the center. And then come out of the pose. Now we'll practice Upavishta Konasana. So sit on the corner of a folded blanket as you see here and stretch your legs out to the sides. So don't have your legs too wide. I would say about 120-degree angle is plenty wide. And take your hands behind you on the blanket and press your fingertips down into the blanket so that you can lengthen the spine up, shoulders back. Tops of the thighs are very grounded, and make sure the thighs are not internally rotating or externally rotating, but the fronts of your legs are pointing straight up to the ceiling. Feet are pointing straight up to the ceiling in flexion. Ground down the tops of your femurs and lift the low belly. Inner and outer knees equally grounded. Inner feet extending. Spread the inner legs from the groins to the inner knees to the ankles and gather the outer thighs back into the hips. And then start to take a twist to the right. So the left hand comes in front of your pubic bone onto the floor and the right hand is behind you on the blanket. Keeping the legs active, start to turn the belly, turn the low belly, turn the navel, turn the rib cage. Left ribs forward, right ribs back. Get grounded, especially in that left femur. Inner left knee grounding. And come back to the center. Pause here. And then twist over to the other side, taking the right fingertips to the sticky mat in front of your pubic bone. Left hand behind. Ground the right femur, ground the right inner knee as you turn the low belly to the left. Rotate the navel to the left, rotate the ribs. Take the left ribs forward and the right ribs back. Keep your breath open here as you turn, as you twist. And then come back to the center. Gather the outer thighs towards the hip sockets. Lengthen the side ribs up towards the armpits and take your shoulders back and down. Inner knees grounding. And then start to fold forward now, taking your hands in front of you and then lower down onto forearms. Elbows walking forward. Let the abdomen recede. Let the upper buttocks release down towards the blanket. So the navel recedes back towards the anterior spine and the bottom front ribs still extend forwards to keep the front of the trunk long. Keep the kidney area open and expanding. So don't let those bottom back ribs sink forward, but rather gently move the front ribs towards the back ribs and then slide the whole rib cage forward. Buttocks grounding down behind you, thigh bones grounding vigorously. Steady breathing here. And then walk your hands back towards the pelvic floor, and then take your hands behind you so that you can sit tall. Staying active in the legs. And then slide your legs together, bending the knees. Now we'll practice Upavishta Konasa forward bend with a bolster for support. So sit on your butt and open your legs out to Upavishta Konasana. Legs no wider than 120 degrees. And then pull the flesh of your buttocks back so you can sit on the center of the sitting bones. Have the bolster in front of you vertically. Rest your fingertips on the mat behind you. Let the shoulders go back, elbows back. Be long in your waist. And ascend the central axis of the body from the pelvic floor all the way up through the top of the head. And let your thigh bones be grounded, especially the tops of the thigh bones, and let your legs be active and feet and toes open. And don't let the thighs roll in or out, but let the fronts of your thighs point straight up. And then pull the bolster close into your pubic bone area and pull your belly up and over the bolster to elongate out and lay down here. And rest your forearms down, slide your forearms forward a little bit, and take your head to one side and rest. And let your legs stay a little bit active here. So just find a moderate amount of effort so that the thighs don't roll in completely or roll out completely. Keep your legs fairly neutral. Keep the tops of your thighs grounded and let the buttocks release down behind you. So the top buttocks releases down towards the bottom buttocks. And then switch the turn of the head. Stretch from the inner groins to the inner ankles. And you can gently think of gathering from the outer ankles all the way back to the outer knees and the outer hips. So the inner thighs extend outwards and the outer thighs gather back in. Soft, receding, long belly. Don't harden in the belly at all here. And breathe into the backs of the lungs. And then use your hands to help yourself on up. Take your fingertips behind and open the chest here, sitting upright. Now we'll practice Tarasana. Sitting down, bring your feet together and knees open, and the feet are quite far from the pelvic floor, so leave a lot of length and space there. Hands behind you on the sticky mat to help you lengthen the spine, shoulders back, and then start to hinge at the hips to fold forward, abdomen receding, rib cage lengthening forward, so the front of the trunk stays long, just as the back of the trunk is long. And then let your spine find a very natural rounded position as your forearms get heavy, as the hands are on the sticky mat. Let your head and tail both release down, and let the knees be heavy. Think of the groins reaching back. Smooth and steady breath here. So allow yourself to become quite introverted in this pose, turning your senses inwards, deep inside yourself, to study the inner landscape of your body, the inner landscape of your mind, the inner sensations. Going deep into your internal world as you relax and release, as you breathe, as you stay present in your body. Stay present in this moment. And then start to roll yourself back up, finding an upright spine. Now we'll practice Supta Virasana. So lay your blanket down on the sticky mat as you see here, and have a bolster and a folded blanket nearby. And then place the bolster vertically on your sticky mat near the blanket as you see, and place the folded blanket on top of the bolster, and that will be a pillow for your head. And then turn around so you're on hands and knees with the bolster behind you. Take the top of your head to the floor and take your fingertips to the upper calves and pull those calves out to the sides and elongate them also down towards the feet. So turn those calves out to the sides and lengthen them down so that you can then sit your thigh bones down right between the feet. And then you'll start to lay out onto the bolster. Make sure the bolster's not underneath your lumbar, so it should be free under your lumbar. And as you lay back, elongate the back ribs away from the buttocks and pull your buttocks towards the backs of your knees. So the lower back becomes very long and tractioned as you set yourself up here, laying back into Supta Virasana. And then adjust the position of the blanket so that the folded blanket supports your neck and head, and stretch your arms out to the sides. Let your shoulder blades slide down your back a little bit, and then release the arms and hands, palms facing up. And let the thigh bones settle, let the pubic bone descend, let the groins be soft, let the knees be grounded. And breathe into the full length of your trunk here. Feel the dimension of your trunk, its length, its width, and its depth. And as you breathe, relax and release internally. Continue to focus internally as you rest here. Stay very present as you breathe. The upper buttocks is reaching towards the bottom buttocks. And then use your hands to help you on up to sit. Come to hands and knees. And extend one leg back to open the back of that knee just for a moment. And then extend the other leg back to open the back of that knee. Now we'll practice Shavasana. So lay down on your back and let your head rest on a blanket so there's some softness underneath your head. And then adjust the flesh of your buttocks. Pull the right butt cheek to the right, left butt cheek to the left. Upper buttocks released away from the lower back. And then release and relax the legs. Slide your shoulder blades down your back and let your palms face up, arms releasing. And then relax your skull and your face. Relax your feet and your hands. And allow yourself to not be the doer. Shavasana is the undoing. Allow yourself to be open and relaxed here. Welcome your breath, welcome sensations as they arise. Observe how thoughts come and watch them float away. Let yourself drop down into the floor, relax and release.